But what do you admire most about your characters in the second season?
Oh, that's good. I'm gonna start.
Yeah.
What do I admire most about Superian in the second season? His, I think you're gonna hear this word a lot, but I think it's true. His vulnerability. Everybody in this season seems to be, not everybody, but a lot of people who you wouldn't maybe expect to be sort of big, open, wounds of hurt are dealing with that, and Superian is dealing with a very particular thing in his own very particular way, and he's real, I don't know, in his own way, guileless about it. Yeah. So I think that's fun to play, at least.
I have a hard time articulating exactly what I mean without it sounding simplistic when I say that Dot is able to, I don't want to say speak up for herself, because it's not that, but there's a really powerful shift that happens in her as a character and in her storyline in the second season, wherein she essentially gets out from underneath Arthur's story and has her own agenda, her own storyline that has nothing to do with it. It's all about the agency. But what's amazing, and one of the things that I really love about the way that Ben wrote it, is it's not something that just happens. Like, okay, in second season, Dot gets some agency. No, what we see is the friction that happens when she does that. What happens to the people who are used to her, providing that emotional labor or support or whatever it is, when she doesn't anymore. And in those moments, I love how fiercely independent she is. I love that she calls people out on that behavior rather than falling back into patterns or putting other people's needs or emotions first. You know what I mean? It's almost like once the switch flips, it's flipped and everybody else can catch up. But she's not going to wait for them, and she's not going to make it any easier for them.
I would first, I guess I'd say, as Brenden said, you're going to hear it a lot is Overkill's vulnerability this season, but more specifically his sort of acceptance of Dot in his path, which he pushed back on anyone trying to get involved in his path or his mission first season, and now he's kind of accepted, almost invited. Well, he does kind of invite her onto this mission, this journey with him. And it's cool because they do clearly have this connection that even though he's sort of accepting of the tick and Arthur too, it's not, they're still a little separate. He still has that disconnect from them that pisses him off and makes him so angry. But at the same time, he's like, there's something here that he's embracing very slowly, but he is embracing.
They have more in common than it would appear on the surface.
Yeah, you guys have a killer instinct that the Tick and Arthur don't have.
Right. It's true.
So there are going to be some new characters on the scenes for villains. Are they going to be throwing? Is there any particular character you think is going to be throwing some wrenches in the mix for your characters?
I don't know if I can.
Say so much
that's
about
a very great question to the point where I don't think I can.
It's one of those things where there's a villain who is sort of behind the scenes for a lot of the. He's talked about quite a bit, very ominously, I think, right?
Yeah.
But he's
under various names.
But that's right. But this villain, you won't really know who it is for a bit.
Basically, just trust no one. Trust no one.
Yeah, that's trust no one, and that applies to a lot of things like backstory stuff too, as far as how that all weaves itself into this.
Because the whole thing is that Aegis is back in town, and the only person with a serious history with Aegis is Overkill.
Correct. So there's a lot of past stuff that gets brought into this that gets connected to.
I can hear you. I heard that. Griven's just saying how great I am in this season.
That's not what I overheard.
Yeah. It makes sense though. It makes sense. When you see the season, you'll get it. Anyway, Superian's main nemesis is himself.
That's the big
True.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. So, the cesspool of social media.
So it's very relatable for all of us, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
the world of superheroes is always like it feels very binary. You know, it's like good or evil. But do you all think as people that human nature is really good or evil?
I don't. No, I don't. I think it's a lot more complicated because everything is more complicated, and it's more. I mean, also it's more interesting when it's more complicated. That's what it's a. I mean,
Like even the language, like good and evil, is completely relative in terms of like context and people and whatnot. You know.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, like I think I'm a good guy, but I have like.
But I
I
don't.
want to do really bad things.
I don't either.
Nobody else does.
No, exactly. So there's
Wait,
perception
what?
too. You know.
Like by what definition?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
also one of the things that I think is really cool about this season is we kind of we investigate that is the idea of what is good and what is evil and what is the gray area, what is like moral ambiguity, and it's something it's also an area that Overkill and Dot really investigate more than most because I mean you're obviously like whatever gets the job done.
Right.
And
I'm opening your mind to that
Well,
in a way,
I think-
and then you're.
I don't know if it's like opening. It's almost surprising how much she doesn't go into all this with black and white thinking. It's very different. It's very different than Arthur, you know.
Yeah.
She's a little bit more flexible.
You can't easily be persuaded into like, okay, whatever gets the job done.
Yeah, whatever gets the job done.
Yeah.
Another thing the show this season I think is really cool that it does a few times actually with a few characters is the way that the way that certain characters are presented or introduced and the way the people in the show react to them and the things that they assume about them. By 2 or 3, 4 episodes later, everything has changed, and you've completely switched the way you feel about certain characters, and that's a really fun part of the show too. Is that sort of moving past your initial assumptions about people.
Well, it's like Ben said in the panel. He said it was a lot about persona, which I hadn't really thought about, but it's true, and how much we respond to the persona, or how important, how attached, like Superian, how attached you are to your persona.
Yeah, totally.
And people's perception of it.
Yeah.
Versus what's lurking underneath.
Yeah, I think we're all like crafting new, like it's like your persona is your your clothes, and everybody this season is sort of tailoring their clothes to a new fit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great textile metaphor.
Thank you.
Also, you
Fashion
just
metaphor.
you enunciated like the diction.
Yes. Well, the last word, you must.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.